Wild pigs, one of the wild animals that cause a lot of damage not only to rural areas, but also greatly affect the ecosystem. Over the years, they have become a major threat in many places, and nowhere is it more difficult than Sierra Nevada, California.
Üstüme geliyor lan, şerefsize bak.
In that context, a difficult and thrilling challenge has been set: eradicate the wild pig herd within 12 hours. Let's explore the dramatic hunting journey of the hunters in the confrontation with this animal. Just a few minutes after entering the forest, the hunting dogs barked loudly, smelling the traces of the giant wild boar herd. The whole herd immediately ran away, their long, sharp tusks and wild eyes showing the potential danger. Not allowing these monsters to escape, we immediately opened fire. The gunshots echoed through the deep forest, and in just a moment, several large pigs had collapsed. Hearing the dogs barking incessantly, the group immediately changed direction, starting to search for a new target. The forest was dense, the trees were dense, the wild boar was extremely cunning in its movements. But with the dogs' fierce pursuit, they had no place to hide. At the nearest location, I just had to raise my gun and pull the trigger. The wild boar fell over and collapsed. Looking around, our eyes caught another wild boar. The distance was quite far, but I knew the opportunity only came once. I adjusted my position, took a deep breath, and focused fully on the target. Everything around seemed to be silent. Every second, every minute, I was ready. After the crisp gunshot, the opponent was completely motionless. We were determined not to stop, chasing the wild boar herd to the end. As their silhouettes passed through the trees, a series of gunshots rang out, tearing the space apart. Each one was hit and fell in the middle of the forest, making me feel overwhelmed with excitement. The group tightened their formation, their eyes never leaving the bushes. The wild boar had no chance to hide. Every few minutes, there was another round of gunfire followed by another monster being taken down. In the afternoon, when we arrived at another forest, the wild boars appeared more and more, making the hunting atmosphere even more tense. As soon as we discovered the herd of wild boars moving, my teammates and I did not hesitate any longer. A series of shots rang out, each bullet accurately taking down a prey. The wild boars had no chance to escape, and the spoils were gradually collected. Wild boars always move in a large range, forcing us to constantly move, search, and mark the target. It was at this moment, before it could hide, that I immediately took advantage of the opportunity, fired a shot, and successfully took down the wild boar. With an accurate shot, the wild boar had no time to fight back, and the spoils were in our hands. We continued our wild boar hunting trip. The wild boar was massive in size, but its running style was still very brave. But in the end, it still could not escape my bullets. It wasn't until dark that our hunting trip ended. After that, the group searched together for the wild boar hiding nearby. Luckily, we found and took down more targets. Although measures such as hunting are used in many countries to control wild boar populations, their effectiveness is limited due to the species' rapid reproduction. In Italy, for example, although hunters kill around 295,000 animals each year, the wild boar population is still increasing by 150% annually, an alarming figure. To improve the effectiveness of control, we not only rely on hunting, but also combine trapping with this method. This combination optimizes the killing ability, targeting even the most cunning individuals in the herd, thereby creating a stronger impact in limiting the wild boar population explosion. As usual, the traps are set in the evening, and we will return to check them the next morning. Everything was going according to plan, until the surveillance system reported an unusual situation. A wild boar had fallen into the trap, but instead of accepting its fate, it frantically tried to escape. The camera recorded it struggling, climbing out of the trap before disappearing into the night. Without hesitation, the team immediately armed themselves, quickly approached the trap area, ready to track and kill it before it had a chance to recover. Since it was late at night, we had to use the thermal scope to search for the target. As soon as we arrived, we scanned the area, and a familiar figure immediately appeared before our eyes. It seemed to have gotten tired and was replenishing its energy. We cautiously approached the target. The wild boar was still unaware that it had been targeted. Choosing a suitable shooting angle, raising the gun, aiming straight at the target, and pulling the trigger, the wild boar collapsed heavily to the ground. The escaped target had been taken down. However, the story did not end there. This area was right near the edge of the forest, where wild boars often came to forage. After walking around, the scene before my eyes left me stunned. Wild boars were scattered everywhere, more in number than expected. In the darkness, they were completely unaware of our presence. This was an opportunity not to be missed. Immediately getting into position, when everything was ready, we opened fire simultaneously. After a hail of bullets, half of the wild boars were taken down, while the rest had already fled. After a hail of bullets, half of the wild boars had been taken down, while the rest had already fled. However, with the thermal scope in hand, no matter which direction the boars ran, we could easily track them. Prioritizing those that had separated from a herd, they became easy targets to take down without causing further commotion. Some of them panicked and ran towards the edge of the forest, but before they could disappear from sight, the accurate shots quickly ended their escape. There was no chance of escape. While tracking, we discovered a large herd of boars moving in a herd and fleeing. Grasping their direction of movement, the group immediately accelerated and advanced to intercept them. Holding the gun firmly, when the herd of pigs appeared, immediately we opened fire at the same time. The first bullet was aimed straight at the leader of the wild boar, the one leading the herd. Then 1, 2, 3. One by one, the wild boars fell. After the rain of bullets, the battlefield was quieter, but there was still one survivor. A wild boar was bewildered, its bloodshot eyes staring at us, full of confusion, but also mixed with defiance. Without hesitation, I raised my gun, resolutely pulled the trigger, a perfect headshot that killed the wild boar in an instant. The sky gradually brightened. We began to move towards the farm after a night of intense pursuit. However, before we could relax, we discovered an unusual sign. A few cunning wild boars had sneaked inside, weaving among the herd of cows, taking advantage of the darkness to forage. The group immediately deployed their formation and approached carefully. Only about 50 meters away from the target, but the herd of pigs was still completely off guard, absorbed in digging without realizing the approaching danger. The atmosphere was more tense than ever. At this moment, every shot had to be absolutely accurate. A small mistake could cause the herd of cows to panic, causing uncontrollable chaos. The result was beyond expectations. In just a few seconds, the intruders were completely eliminated. The remaining pigs fled the farm in panic. After the intense battle, the dawn had just broken, dispelling the silence of the night. The resounding victory last night made the whole group excited, but at the same time, it also strengthened their determination to completely exterminate the wild boar herd to prevent future invasions. We speculated that the ones that had escaped must have retreated to the hills near the farm. Without hesitation, the whole group immediately moved, heading straight towards it. From the top of the mountain, through binoculars, we discovered the pigs lurking behind the trees. Quickly deploying tactics, we divided into small groups, silently ambushing in different positions. The gunshots echoed once more, ending all resistance. Each wild boar fell down on the spot. The wild boars in this area were not only huge, but also extremely cunning. However, no matter how agile they were, they had no chance of survival. Despite trying to run away, rushing at terrifying speed, gliding through each bush, looking for an escape route, the wild boar could not escape my bullets. It fell over and rolled down the slope. If we did not act promptly today, the consequences would be unpredictable. In recent years, the increase in the number of wild boars has become a serious problem for many farms. An adult wild boar can weigh from 80 to 150 kilograms, with a body length of up to 1.5 m, and their strength allows them to destroy fences, causing considerable damage to farmers. In particular, this herd of wild boars can destroy entire crops in just one night, or destroy livestock barns. The serious problem is that wild boars have the ability to reproduce very quickly. A female can give birth to 6 to 12 piglets per year. The overpopulation of this species has caused farmers and livestock keepers to face terrible losses. The situation was now very urgent. We immediately started preparing for a wild boar hunt that night. Each of us in our group brought a specialized hunting weapon, flashlight, and thermal scope to observe the target in the dark. With the support of modern technology, we could observe the entire farm area and detect the location of the wild boars as soon as they started to attack. The action plan was very simple, but no less dangerous. We divided the team into small groups, Each group would approach from different directions to ensure that the wild boars could not escape or counterattack. After about 30 minutes of waiting, dark shadows appeared and disappeared behind the grass. The wild boars were about 500 meters from the farm area. The thermal scope showed that the saboteurs were gradually entering the farmland. We decided to attack from two directions. 7. The first target was a wandering wild boar, which would be a good opportunity to attack. After just a few seconds, a gunshot rang out, and the wild boar weighing more than 100 kilograms collapsed. The gunshot caused the herd of wild boars to panic, and they scattered and ran into the nearby forest area. Continuously firing, we took down 5 more wild boars.
Hey, what you got there, bud?
After the wild boars dispersed, we decided to move and search for a target. The results showed that a group of 20 wild boars were gathering near the grassy area. However, things were not too difficult as the thermal scope allowed us to aim accurately. Although the weapon was equipped with a silencer, the continuous attack also caused the wild boars to panic. Unable to miss the opportunity, I immediately asked for support from my teammates. In the dark night, the gunshots kept ringing, and the saboteurs were eliminated one by one. We thought that the wild boars had retreated, but when we got closer, we suddenly discovered another herd of wild boars preparing to attack the barn area. Changing tactics, we attracted the attention of the wild boars with our cries. Then, seizing the opportunity, we aimed accurately at the vital spot and pulled the trigger. Perfect. 1 shot, 1 kill. Moving to the surrounding lands, as we approached the cultivated area, the herd of wild boars appeared from different directions. In particular, there were a few wild boars weighing more than 120 kilograms, extremely ferocious, destroying a cultivated area. We decided to surround and attack from many sides. With extremely fast reflexes, I shot accurately and took down this giant wild boar in just a few seconds. After 10 minutes of intense fighting, we continued to take down 10 more wild boars. Taking advantage of the chaos, a few targets escaped. Quickly following the trail, with their cunning, they used the tall and dense grass as shelter. However, that was completely meaningless. In the end, the wild boar herd was completely destroyed. After the bloody battle that night, we proceeded to clean up the battlefield. The carcasses of the wild boars were taken out of the farm area to avoid attracting other animals. The wild boar meat will be processed and used for economic purposes. Feral pigs, with a population of up to 6 million, have become a serious threat, spreading in at least 35 states in the United States, including Florida. Herds of feral pigs destroy natural ecosystems, plowing up the habitats of native animals and reducing biodiversity. Not only that, they are also the source of many dangerous viruses and bacteria, spreading diseases such as hepatitis, pneumonia, and many other infectious diseases, posing a risk to the health of humans and livestock. Faced with this alarming situation, the people of Florida did not stand idly by. They implemented many drastic measures to control the number of wild pigs, of which hunting is an effective solution. Last week, I and a few friends decided to participate in a wild pig hunt. Deep in the heart of the American South, the state of Oklahoma is under relentless attack, not by an army, but by a creature many once thought harmless, wild feral hogs. An estimated 1.5 million feral hogs roam Oklahoma's fields, forests, and farms. Each year, they cause over $60 million in damages, destroying crops, tearing up irrigation systems, wrecking infrastructure, and even endangering the safety of local residents. So today, we came prepared with helicopters and high-powered weaponry, ready for a high-speed chase against the beasts that have been terrorizing the countryside. As the sun rose, our chopper lifted off. Below us, in the thin woods and torn-up cornfields, a herd of hogs was already on the move, tearing through the land like a living storm. We moved in fast, but don't be fooled, these hogs are not easy to catch. Every shot needs to be pinpoint accurate. A single misfire, and they'll vanish into the brush in seconds. Amid the roar of the rotors, I kept firing, aiming at the massive hogs sprinting below us across the churned-up fields. With aerial vision, Charlotte was landing her shots with deadly precision, each hog dropping in a cloud of dirt and dust. The helicopter circled the field, its engine screaming through the open sky. These hogs usually hide in thick brush or tall grass, but from the sky, they have nowhere to hide. One clean shot, and they're down on the spot. Suddenly, a large group burst out from ahead. The first shot dropped one instantly. The rest scattered in all directions, a textbook hog reaction. But it was too late. Every escape route had already been locked in. One by one, they were taken down by precision fire from above. In this chase, our instinct was no match for aerial speed and firepower. As we moved on to the next group, I kept firing but missed. That's when I realized shooting from the air is a completely different game than hunting on the ground. It's exhilarating. After missing multiple targets, I began to adapt. Watching how my teammate handled his weapon, I mimicked his hand movements, adjusted my aim based on the herd's direction. I wasn't perfect, but I could feel myself improving. And I knew right then this kind of skill comes from rigorous training and experience. From above, we spotted movement in a thick patch of brush. We hovered, watching. The land here is dry and rugged. Maybe that's why the hogs in this region aren't particularly large. But don't be fooled. Even at just a few dozen kilos, they're more than capable of ripping through farmland and devastating crops. They adapt fast, and that's what makes them so dangerous. There are so many hogs here. The ones we've taken down today are just a small fraction of the whole. That's why our team remains determined not to let any get away. The herd scattered trying to flee, but it was no use. We stayed on them, hunting them down one by one. Our hunt stretched into the late afternoon. But as you can imagine, wild hogs continue to breed and hide, forcing helicopter hunting teams to fly missions every single week. This battle, no matter how thrilling, is far from over. Oklahoma, along with many other states, is still calling for more resources, tougher laws, and stronger community involvement to stop this invasive menace. Wild boars, the name might sound familiar, but the destruction they leave behind is anything but ordinary. Wherever they go, trees are flattened, water sources ruined, crops devastated, and hundreds of hectares torn apart like a war zone. Even smaller animals aren't spared. Some of the toughest farmers have had to surrender to their onslaught. Various methods have been deployed to combat this crisis, but in our experience, nothing works better than hunting. At the break of dawn, we arrived at the forest, bringing along a pack of elite hunting dogs. Our team spread out quietly, taking control of key vantage points. The dogs started sniffing out every corner. Tension hung in the air like a drawn bowstring. While the dogs scoured the area, I observed silently. After a long wait, we finally spotted signs of wild boar movement. We picked up the pace, chasing through rows of trees. The moment a target entered our sights, it was taken down with a clean, decisive shot. Some were quite far away, but I still took the shot, sending the herd fleeing in panic. After a long chase, I finally saw my chance. As shadows darted past my vision, I didn't give them a second to react. I pulled the trigger instantly. The reward was worth it. Several targets were taken down, though quite a few managed to escape, making the hunt even more intense. Without wasting time, we continued the pursuit. The dogs kept tracking relentlessly, leaving the boars with nowhere to hide, giving me even more opportunities to strike. After those successful hits, we expanded our search to nearby areas. New chances kept appearing. Massive wild boars started revealing themselves. Their sheer size would excite even the most seasoned hunters. Then came the thunder of gunfire, and just like that, they were down. We moved on to another area. Deep in the woods, I set up an ambush and waited patiently for a target. There it was. I raised my rifle and aimed. The moment the boar crossed my line of sight, a single, sharp shot rang out. With minimal effort, the boar dropped clean and easy. The next ambushes were just as effective. But things don't always go smoothly. A few cunning boars managed to escape into the thick bushes. I lost track of them for a while, but eventually I caught up. Just one shot. That's all I had. As the boar stepped into my scope, I squeezed the trigger. In a split second, it was down, right in the heart of the forest. We returned to the scene, driven by the memory of those ravaged fields. It reignited our determination. The team pushed forward, tracking, ambushing, and dropping more targets. Every gunshot meant one less threat to the land, one more victory for the farmers. Later, we headed to another hill known to be one of their favorite hiding spots. To our surprise, other hunters had already taken down boars in the same area. With teamwork and relentless drive, we wrapped up this challenge with truly impressive results. We had received prior information. A large herd of wild boars was rampaging through the area, destroying crops and causing severe hardship for the local people. Beyond the serious environmental damage they cause, wild boars can also spread dangerous diseases to humans and other animals. That meant our hunting team had to take action immediately. Right now, hunting is the most effective method to control their population. As soon as we arrived at the rendezvous point, we split up, each choosing a strategic position. Wild boars are not easy to deal with. They're fast, tough, and when threatened, can become extremely aggressive. However, we had the advantage here: open terrain, clear visibility, and rifles loaded and ready. Fresh tracks indicated the herd had passed through not long ago. Rustling sounds in the bushes. A group of about 10 wild boars emerged, busy digging under a tree. Without hesitation, we raised our rifles and aimed at the lead boar. One critical shot, it collapsed instantly. The herd panicked and fled, But our teammates were already in position. The remaining boars scattered in different directions. Some sprinted straight up the hill. We immediately adjusted our strategy, splitting into two teams, one circling ahead to cut them off, the other trailing closely behind. Reaching the hilltop, the boars suddenly realized they had run into a trap. They turned to flee, but we didn't let that happen. Gunshots rang out. Two were taken down instantly. One was hit, but kept dragging itself forward. A second shot finished it cleanly, within seconds. Meanwhile, the remaining boars bolted downhill, dodging our bullets. Steadying our aim, we continued firing, dropping another target. Our first kills of the day were massive, impressively large specimens that filled us with excitement. Suddenly, the barking of our hunting dogs snapped us to attention. They had locked onto a target. Rushing over, we discovered another group of boars surrounded by our dogs on the hillside. We carefully closed in, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. There it was. The boars clustered together. We pulled the triggers simultaneously. A hail of bullets tore through the air, and a boar let out a final squeal before collapsing. By now, the herd had been split into smaller groups. From the hilltop, we locked onto each target, taking them down with precise shots. While scanning the surroundings, a loud crash erupted from the bushes. Before we could react, an enormous herd of wild boars charged out at incredible speed. One panicked boar broke away, heading straight toward us, just 100 meters away. Without hesitation, we raised our rifles and fired. Oh no! We had underestimated it. The clever beast dodged every shot. By the time we steadied ourselves, the target and its entire herd had vanished into the forest. A slight disappointment, but we refused to give up. Pressing forward, we suddenly spotted a herd of about 20 wild boars running along the opposite hillside. Knowing we couldn't get any closer, we had to act fast. Sensing danger, the boars scattered, using the trees as cover, making it incredibly difficult to get a clear shot. But with years of hunting experience, we took careful aim. When a target appeared in the scope, we pulled the trigger. A precise takedown. The herd unknowingly ran straight toward us. A fatal mistake. After a flurry of gunfire, a few lucky ones managed to escape. As the boars began disappearing from view, we unleashed another coordinated attack, not giving them a chance to turn back. It took quite some time before we managed to track them down again. A massive 200 kilograms wild boar with thick, shaggy fur burst out of the underbrush. A bullet left the chamber, striking the target dead on, just as we celebrated. A dark blur streaked past our line of sight. This one was tough, fearless, and it paid the price. The hunt was nearing its conclusion, but we were determined to track down any remaining boars, ensuring not a single one escaped. After hours of intense pursuit, the hunt officially ended with a total of 30 wild boars eliminated, an unforgettable achievement. The last day of the wild boar control campaign has come. We are determined to conquer the highest peaks, where the wild boars have been thriving and causing a lot of trouble. Their destruction not only affects the crops, but also threatens the lives of local people. Therefore, we decided to kill as many wild boars as possible, so that the people here no longer have to live in fear. How will the confrontation with this monster turn out? Will we be able to complete the mission? Let's follow this dramatic journey to find out the final result. Early in the morning, before the sun had time to rise, a few friends and I were ready for the wild boar hunting trip that we had been waiting for all week. This time the destination was on a hill about 10 minutes drive from the residential area, a perfect place for hunting. The road up the hill was quite bumpy, but it could not discourage us. Starting from the hillside, we gradually moved up. Suddenly, a distinctive sound echoed from afar. The pigs had shiny black fur, large and flexible bodies, and were dragging each other along the forest trail. I looked through the lens of the shotgun, observing every movement of the target. The opportunity came, I held my breath and resolutely pulled the trigger. The shot rang out in the quiet space of the morning, and a large wild boar fell down immediately. That was the first pig on this trip. The battle officially began. I quickly chose for myself the most ideal ambush position. With the terrain being low bushes, it was not difficult for me to find the location of the wild boars. The moment it ran past, I would immediately aim and shoot. From an ambush point, I could observe the surroundings and take down several wild boars in succession. But today's battle has just begun. A few hours later, I changed to another position to wait for the prey. From above looking down the ravine, I could clearly see every movement of the wild boar herd. We could not miss the opportunity. Each person in the group immediately dispersed, each standing in a different position, ready to attack. A large male wild boar separated from the herd. This was my target. I fixed my eyes on the lens, carefully calibrated. A shot rang out, and the boar fell, but it was not an instantaneous defeat. It rushed forward at an unbelievable speed. The wild boar, wounded but still strong, rushed away, trying to escape while its wound was bleeding. I couldn't let it escape. I couldn't let this boar survive. A loud bang rang out, and the boar fell, no longer having the strength to continue. A perfect headshot, ending a dramatic chase. However, the battle was not over yet. The herd of wild boars was still there, with others lurking in the woods, just waiting for an opportunity to counterattack. Everything was going pretty smoothly until we discovered the tracks of a giant wild boar, weighing up to 300 kilograms. Following its trail, we realized that this was the largest, most mature boar we had ever seen. It was no ordinary boar, but a true beast in the world of wild boars. This boar was definitely the leader. I could feel the heat of the confrontation approaching. The atmosphere seemed more tense than ever. When we spotted the boar, it was standing there, looking at us with a wary gaze. It knew we were approaching, and immediately, the boar turned around and charged towards us. I was caught off guard, but as soon as it charged, I quickly aimed at a weak point on the boar's body. A series of shots rang out from our guns. Finally, after a series of accurate shots, the giant wild boar collapsed, ending the dramatic confrontation. After killing the beast, we continued to follow the tracks of the remaining wild boars in the herd. The footprints led us up another hill, where we spotted another wild boar wandering alone. Not missing the opportunity, I quickly engaged and took down the second boar of the trip. Not long after, we spotted another boar moving near the fence area. From my position on the hill, I adjusted my gun, aiming straight at the target. A shot hit the boar right in the chest, ending a tough day of hunting. As the sun began to set, we had killed a total of 4 wild boars, including a giant weighing up to 300 kilograms. Although we were tired, we were proud of having had a very successful hunting trip. Wild boars, a wild animal that not only causes huge economic losses, but also threatens the environment and ecosystem. They reproduce at a dizzying speed, destroy crops, devastate forests, and cause heavy losses to farmers. In particular, they also have the ability to adapt quickly to all living conditions, making their control a huge challenge. Therefore, a comprehensive plan has been drawn up to prevent the invasion of this animal. The plan was implemented not only based on weapons, but also on the sophistication in setting traps and tracking the movements of wild boars. Everything was ready, and the dramatic hunt began. That day, we arrived at the meeting point. This was a large area of land where wild boars often appeared. I began to check the surrounding area, looking for traces of wild boars. Large, deep pig footprints imprinted on the wet ground led me to an area near a dense bush. This was where they often visited. After identifying the familiar paths of the pigs, I decided to set traps at these strategic points. The traps were cleverly designed, effectively capturing wild boars without causing harm to them. To attract them, I used corn and wheat as bait. The scent of these baits is irresistible to the wild boars. To ensure that the surveillance goes smoothly, I also placed some infrared cameras near the traps so that I can observe the movements of the wild boars at night. Once the traps were set, I moved to the neighboring area, where I could easily observe any movements without being detected. The whole team sat waiting, concentrating, preparing for the next attack. Using the remaining bait, I spread them out on an open field, then climbed a nearby tree to hide and wait. In my hand was the Henry carbine, a gun that stood out thanks to its fast-firing mechanism, ease of use, and powerful damage. 1 hour passed. At this time, I discovered a mature wild boar weighing about 90 kilograms approaching. Little did it know that this would be its last meal. I did not hesitate, raised my gun, aimed accurately, and pulled the trigger. The shot rang out. The wild boar collapsed to the ground. The remaining ones panicked and ran away, running in different directions. The chase began. I signaled to the team members, each taking charge of an area, coordinating closely to ensure that no one was left behind, while I continued to track and shoot down the large wild boars. The smaller ones quickly rushed into the dense bushes, trying to escape. However, with the speed and accuracy of the team members, they could not escape. Each shot was carefully calculated. A large male wild boar, with shiny black fur and sharp tusks, was taken down after an extremely accurate shot. I felt nervous, but also proud when I saw the spoils I had collected.